Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're getting into something really fundamental, those skills that, honestly, can shift the direction of your life.
That's right. We've been looking at a podcast discussion, English Speak Life-Changing Skills, with hosts Alex and Emma. Really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and our mission here is simple. Pull out the absolute core insights, the most impactful bits from what they talked about.
hmm So you get actionable steps for, personal growth, professional development, all that.
But without feeling like you're drinking from a fire hose, we want it to be practical.
Exactly. Just the essence of what can really move the needle.
Okay, so let's jump right in. The first one they really hammered home, and for good reason, is communication skills.
Oh, yeah, this one. Honestly, get this right, and so much else just seems to, well, work better.
It's foundational, isn't it? They framed it as something that alone can change your life's course.
And it's easy to think it's just like speaking well, but it's deeper.
Totally. It's about getting your thoughts across clearly, sure, but also really hearing what others are saying.
Active listening. That's a huge part of it. Understanding, connecting.
It's not just transmitting information, it's building that bridge. Think about it. Relationships, job interviews.
Presentations, team meetings, everything.
They mentioned that Julian Treasure TED Talk about speaking so people want to listen.
Oh, that one's brilliant. Yeah.
So practical and, kind of inspiring, too. It really breaks down how you sound.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? How often do we focus only on the what and not the how of our communication?
Right. And they gave some concrete advice for getting better, like practicing in front of a mirror.
It sounds a bit awkward, maybe, but genuinely useful.
Or
recording yourself.
yeah, that can be revealing. You notice all sorts of things you weren't aware of.
And joining something like Toastmasters, a safe place to practice.
Definitely. But back to that listening piece. They stressed listening to understand, not just to jump in with your reply.
Such a critical difference, like really trying to grasp their perspective before you formulate your own response. Maybe even quickly summarizing what they said.
So if I'm hearing you right, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Shows you're engaged and helps avoid misunderstandings. It builds trust.
Okay, good stuff. Let's move to the next skill they highlighted. Emotional intelligence. This one feels like it's getting a lot more attention lately.
It really is. And basically, it's about understanding your own emotions, what you're feeling and why, and also being able to sort of read and respond to the emotions of others.
So self-awareness and social awareness, essentially.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the benefits they talked about are significant. Better relationships, obviously. Less stress because you manage your feelings better.
And making clear decisions, right? Not just reacting emotionally.
Uh-huh. It acts like a better internal compass, maybe.
They brought up a really interesting point, or maybe it was a statistic, that emotional intelligence can actually be a better predictor of success than IQ.
Yeah, that often surprises people. But think about it. Success, especially in work, relies so much on working well with others.
Collaboration, navigating office politics, handling pressure.
Exactly. Those are areas where high EQ really makes a difference. IQ gets you in the door, maybe, but EQ helps you thrive once you're there.
So people with high emotional intelligence, they tend to be better leaders, better teammates.
That's what the research suggests and what Alex and Emma were getting at. More empathetic, more aware of how they come across, better at sorting out conflicts.
Okay, so if someone listening wants to boost their own EQ, what did the source suggest?
Well, a few practical things. One was journaling about your emotions, just taking time to reflect. What did I feel today? Why? Helps build that self-awareness muscle.
Okay. Makes sense.
Another was practicing empathy, like consciously trying to see things from the other person's viewpoint. Put yourself in their shoes,
Easier said than done sometimes, but worth the effort.
Definitely. And finally, asking for feedback. How do you come across to others? What's your impact? That can be eye-opening.
Right. Okay, really actionable advice there.
Right.
Let's switch gears a bit to something very practical. Time management and goal setting.
Yes. And I like how they put it, time management is like unlocking a secret level in life.
Huh. Yeah, that captures it well. Because when you feel in control of your time, it really does feel different.
And they made that crucial distinction between just being busy and actually being productive.
Oh, absolutely. Running around all day doesn't mean you accomplished anything important. It's about focusing on what actually matters.
And they mentioned some useful tools beyond just, calendars and basic to-do lists.
Like the Eisenhower matrix.
Yeah.
Urgent versus important.
Exactly that. It forces you to prioritize what needs doing now versus what's important for the long game, but maybe not urgent this second. helps you focus on quadrant 2, the important, not urgent stuff.
Where strategic work usually lives.
Right. And the Pomodoro technique, working in focused bursts.
Yeah, 25 minutes on, 5-minute break, something like that.
Breaks things down, keeps you focused, prevents burnout. Simple, but effective for a lot of people.
And they tied this directly into goal setting, didn't they? Because managing your time well is great, but...
But if you don't know what you're aiming for, you might just be efficiently spinning your wheels.
Right. Goals give you direction. They tell you what tasks are actually important.
And this is where the SMART framework comes in handy, which they mentioned.
Specific, measurable, achievable.
Relevant and time-bound. Yeah. It takes a vague wish like, I want to get fit, and turns it into something concrete, like, I will go to the gym 3 times a week for 30 minutes for the next 3 months.
Makes it much more likely you'll actually do it because you know exactly what success looks like and when.
Precisely. It provides clarity and accountability.
Okay, good. Now let's tackle a couple of skills that rely more on maybe inner fortitude, self-discipline, and adaptability.
Yeah, these are about resilience in a way. Self-discipline. They defined it as basically doing what you need to do even when you don't feel like it.
Ah, the motivation gap.
Exactly. Motivation is great, gets you started, but it waxes and wanes. Discipline is what keeps you showing up when the excitement fades.
It's the engine, not just the spark.
Perfect analogy. And they gave examples we can all relate to, right? Getting up early when the alarm goes off, choosing the workout over the sofa.
Sticking to a study schedule, avoiding those tempting internet rabbit holes when you need to focus.
All acts of self-discipline. And they used another great analogy, it's like a muscle.
The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Right, so start small. Make a small promise to yourself, I'll walk for 10 minutes today, and keep it. Build from there.
That feels achievable. Now link that to adaptability. They called it a superpower.
Which feels pretty accurate these days, doesn't it? The world changes so fast.
Technology, jobs, the way we live, it's constant flux.
Yeah.
Being able to roll with the punches isn't just nice, it's kind of essential.
They use the pandemic as a really potent example. People and businesses that adapted quickly, well, they generally fared better.
True. It forced adaptation on a massive scale.
But it's not just about huge disruptions. Adaptability is also about being open to feedback, you know?
Learning from mistakes instead of getting defensive.
Yeah, and just being willing to try new things, new approaches, not being rigidly stuck in one way of doing things. It's a mindset, really.
A flexible, open mindset.
Okay.
Let's move into the cognitive skills. Critical thinking and creativity.
Right. Critical thinking.
Yeah.
The source defined it as thinking clearly, rationally, analyzing information, evaluating arguments.
Which is just crucial now with the sheer amount of information and misinformation flying around.
Absolutely essential. You need to be able to separate fact from opinion, spot biases, question assumptions. It's fundamental to making good decisions, solving problems effectively.
So how do you build that skill? What did they suggest?
Asking questions is key. Don't just accept things at face value. Be curious. Why is this true? What's the evidence?
And looking at things from different angles, seeking out diverse opinions.
Definitely. Reading things you might disagree with helps you understand different perspectives and strengthens your own analytical muscles.
Okay, and what about creativity? Often seen as something you're born with, maybe.
Yeah, but they really pushed back on that. They framed creativity much more broadly.
Not just painting or writing poetry.
No. It's about thinking outside the box in any field. Finding new solutions, connecting ideas in novel ways, expressing yourself uniquely.
And businesses value that hugely, right? Innovation, progress, it all stems from creative thinking.
Exactly. And the good news, according to the source, is that everyone is creative to some degree. It just needs nurturing.
So how do you nurture it?
Simple things, actually, like journaling, doodling, brainstorming, without judgment. Just getting ideas out there, even allowing yourself to daydream.
Giving your brain space to make those unexpected connections.
Precisely. It doesn't have to be about producing a masterpiece. It's about flexing that creative muscle.
Got it. Okay, we're covering a lot of ground. Let's touch on a few more essentials. Financial literacy, resilience, and gratitude. Starting with money.
Financial literacy. So important, yet so often overlooked in formal education.
Tell me about it. But as they said, it's truly an essential life skill. Managing money, budgeting, saving, understanding basic investing.
It impacts everything. Your stress levels, your future options, and it's never too late to learn.
What were the first steps they recommended? Seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah, really practical. First, just track your expenses. Figure out where your money is actually going. Awareness is step one.
Then set some clear goals. What do you want your money to do for you?
Exactly. Saving for a house, paying off debt, building an emergency fund. Having a goal gives your budgeting purpose.
And they mentioned some specific books.
Uh-huh. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The Psychology of Money. Good starting points for shifting your mindset and understanding both the mechanics and the psychology behind wealth.
Okay. Next, resilience. Life throws curveballs.
It certainly does.
Yeah.
Resilience is that ability to bounce back, to get knocked down and get back up again. It's not about avoiding difficulty.
It's about how you respond to it.
Right. And a big part of that, they suggested, is reframing failure.
Not seeing it as the end of the road, but as what? Feedback.
Exactly. A learning opportunity. Okay, that didn't work. What can I learn? How can I adjust? That mindset shift is key.
So resilient people see challenges differently.
They tend to. Maybe it's opportunities, or at least as temporary setbacks they can overcome. They don't give up as easily.
And building it involves taking care of yourself.
Yes, mental health is huge. Having supportive people around you, trying to maintain a generally positive or at least realistic outlook.
Makes sense. And finally, gratitude. Seems simple, maybe even a bit fluffy, but they positioned it as powerful.
It is surprisingly powerful. It's just the simple practice of focusing on what you have rather than what you lack, shifting your attention.
From the negative or the missing to the positive and the present.
Yeah. And doing that consistently, even for a few moments a day, can genuinely improve your mood, boost motivation, even strengthen relationships because you appreciate people more.
And the practical tip was?
It's super simple. Just take a moment each day, maybe at the beginning or end, to consciously think of or even write down 3 things you're grateful for. Could be tiny things.
Like a good cup of coffee or a sunny day.
Anything. It trains your brain to look for the good.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this all up, we've gone through quite a list. Communication, emotional intelligence, time management, goal setting,
Self-discipline, adaptability, critical thinking, creativity.
financial literacy, resilience, and gratitude. It's a whole spectrum of skills that can genuinely change things.
It really is. But, as Alex Nema stressed, and it's important to remember this, you don't need to tackle all of these at once. That would be overwhelming.
Right. The idea is to maybe pick 1 or 2 tops. Which one resonates most right now? Where could you see the biggest impact in your life?
Start there. Focus your energy and commit to consistent small actions, daily if possible.
Because it's that consistent effort over time that builds the skill and leads to real change. It's about progress, isn't it? Not suddenly becoming perfect overnight.
Absolutely. Embrace that growth mindset. Every little step forward counts. It's a journey.
So the final thought to leave everyone with, maybe something to mull over, considering all these different areas we've touched on.
What is that one skill that if you really committed to developing it starting today, would likely have the bigger positive ripple effect throughout your life right now?
That's a powerful question to reflect on. Definitely gives you something to think about.